Welcome to another episode of the Multipliers podcast. Today, we will dive deep into the world of digital out of home advertising and explore the industry's current trends, challenges, and innovations. I will be your host for today. My name is Mahdi from Multiply Group, and joining me is Kaan Gunay, the co founder and CEO of Firefly, the next generation car advertising solution featuring taxi and rideshare top advertising, in car advertising, holograms, car wraps, and much more. Kaan, thank you for joining us today on the Multipliers podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Can you please tell us a bit about who you are?
Sure. My name is Kaan Gunay. I'm Turkish, and I'm the founder and CEO of Firefly.
And what is Firefly?
Firefly is a out-of-home advertising company that places displays on top of taxis and rideshare vehicles and serves location and time-based targeted content. So for instance, like if I can elaborate. So when you're in New York, for instance, like there are all of these taxis, and on tops of these taxis, there are some advertising units. They can be static, they can be digital. So Firefly owns and operates those units, essentially. We also do static advertising on the sides of taxis as well, for instance, in London. And we're the leader in the space, and we're innovating in this space overall.
What made you pick this particular industry to go into?
When you look at it's twofold. When you look at advertising, out-of-home advertising has not been innovated in that much, whereas every other format of advertising has seen a lot of innovation. So out-of-home seemed interesting to me. But more than that, when you look at the urban landscape, one of the most underutilized assets, I believe, are cars, they're vehicles. I mean, you're using it to transport people and passengers from one location to another, but it has so much more potential. You can actually use it to generate an income. That's how ride-sharing emerged. That's how taxis emerged. And I believe there's also tremendous potential to actually generate advertising income as well while doing that. So we started the company with the vision of turning these vehicles into assets that can actually like start monetizing for the owners.
And what makes Firefly special or unique?
Many things. That's what I'd like to think, at least. One of the things that makes Firefly unique is that so we have all of these units like on tops of these vehicles. We can now use them to like start monetizing the vehicles themselves, but also we have sensors built into the displays themselves, and these sensors can gather information about the city. For instance, we gather pollution information, and we're able to share that information with our governments. And there is just tremendous potential and endless opportunity on what you can do with these types of IoT devices that are just roaming throughout the city.
And when you say governments, that means that Firefly is in several geographical locations?
Yes. So we started the company in the United States. We're operating in over 20 different markets in the United States. Since then, we have expanded into 3 additional countries. We're operating in the United Kingdom, in Canada, and actually with partnership with Multiply, we also just launched in the UAE, which we're very excited about.
And when you say, for example, you're in 20 geographical locations in the US, is there a difference in the consumer behavior or in the demands from your clients on the services that you provide, or is it in general the same?
It definitely varies from city to city. For instance, we have a very large presence in New York, which makes sense because it's such a urban city, like it's very densely populated. We also have a very large presence in Las Vegas, which also makes sense because like taxi is just such a big part of that city, and overall advertising is also very important in that city as well. So for instance, in a city like Las Vegas, when somebody goes there for 3 nights, for instance, a typical person has only 2 events planned. They have, let's say, like 1 dinner and 1 show to go to, but they don't really know what they want to do for the next 2-3 days. So advertising at that moment and like serving the messages, okay, like talking about like the attractions in the city, like what's possible to be done in the city, ends up being very important. So it really depends on both like how the city is constructed, how it functions, and also what the demand for advertising is in the city. Like when we pick, okay, like where do we go to? Like how much do we invest as a company? How much potential do we think that city has?
And how would you describe your experience in the UAE market?
The UAE is, I mean, it has blown my mind. It's just a phenomenal, phenomenal market. There is a tremendous amount of investment that's happening in the country, both from there are a lot of people that are just moving to the UAE, and there's also a lot of investment that's happening from a brand perspective. I think it's one of the fastest growth potential markets in the entire world over the next decades to come.
And for Firefly, any other new geographical locations you're looking into?
We're looking at several. We're looking at the rest of the Middle East as well. I think there is a lot of potential similar to the UAE and a lot of the other Middle Eastern countries too. We're looking at expanding potentially with partnership with Multipliers to several countries in the Middle East. And we're also looking at Southeast Asia as well.
Interesting. And this is a conversation that we were having earlier about how all the new technologies affecting consumer behavior. So, where do you see this going?
I mean, one obvious and very big trend, for instance, is artificial intelligence. And when I talk about consumer behavior, I'll talk a little bit about advertising because that's where we're focused. I mean, obviously, like people are going to start spending more and more time interacting with these AI chatbots, and like AI will start playing a bigger and bigger role in every human's life. And it's also going to affect how brands end up reaching customers. For instance, when someone's having a conversation with a chatbot, some of the answers can actually be sponsored by advertisers, and that is going to be a way in which monetization starts increasing. So it's definitely one of the biggest, if not the biggest trend, probably of our lifetime.
And how would that affect Firefly?
AI is something that Firefly is investing in as well. Again, like from a brand's perspective, like you need to be able to figure out what is like where to predict, okay, like what is the best advertising content that I can serve to actually get the best results. And this isn't just in the online world, it's also in the physical world as well. And there aren't that many companies, if there are any, other than Firefly, that's actually innovating in this space in out of home to try to figure out, okay, like what sort of advertising should I serve at what specific time, at what specific location, what demographics should I target, what is the result that I'm getting, like how should I change my advertising based on those results. And we're pioneering that. So I think like it's a tremendous opportunity for Firefly.
And the real world versus the virtual world?
I mean, both have benefits. I prefer the real world. But the virtual world is definitely a great escape sometimes for people, you know, like to be able to relax their minds. Like I know a lot of people who like spending time in the virtual world. I like the real world. I think it's a phenomenal place and I haven't given up on it yet.
And Kaan, how many years has it been since you set up Firefly?
So I started Firefly in 2017. I was actually getting my MBA at the time, so I've been full-time on it since 2018, but like it was incorporated in 2017.
So you were a young entrepreneur.
I was getting my MBA, so I was young, but like not super young.
Okay. Yeah. You were in your 20s?
I was in my 20s, yes.
Young entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So what advice do you have to young entrepreneurs?
So the most important thing, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs learn this the hard way, is the people that you work with. Having an A+ team that you fully trust, that is extremely committed, that is hardcore and puts the company first, is the only way in which your company will succeed. So making sure that you can attract those people and making sure you retain those people when you find them is by far the most important recipe for success.
And how do you do that?
The only way I have found success in that area has been through personal references and personal networks. Like, I haven't really seen that much success. I mean, obviously, like, there are exceptions, like for coming through recruiters, for instance. It's been more of a, okay, like, I know, like, I know a certain amount of people, like, I trust a certain amount of them very much. And the best people have always been, like, coming through references from those people.
And in terms of retention of these valuable assets, what would you recommend any young entrepreneur to do?
I think that's more about when you set the right vision and when you set the right work environment where people are able to experiment, fail, but fail in a constructive way, and also like keep going and like keep running after that mission. I think like people cherish that type of environment as well. You know, like, I want to make sure that Firefly is an environment where the best of the best love coming to work and they love staying at work and they want to keep working and they want to keep hustling for the company, and they're just hardcore like Firefly people. And I think like if you're providing the right environment and if you're on the same wavelength with people, that naturally like ends up coming.
It's all about the hustle, isn't it?
It is all about the hustle, yes.
Gotta love the hustle. Kaan, thank you so much for joining me today on this
Thank you
conversation.
so much for having me.
And hopefully we'll have her on too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Have a good day. Thank you for joining us today. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can find us on all of these platforms. See you on the next episode.